It's the 14th of January, 1944, and First Lieutenant Robert Hansen sits in the cramped cockpit of his F4U Corsair on the dirt airstrip at Torquemada, Bougainville. The sun hasn't fully risen over the Solomon Islands. Steam lifts from the jungle canopy as the young Marine pilot runs through his pre-flight checks. 650 caliber Browning machine guns wait in the wings, loaded with 2,300 rounds of armor-piercing ammunition. Today, VMF 215, the Fighting Corsairs, will escort Navy bombers to Simpson Harbor near Rabaul. Intelligence warns of heavy Japanese fighter presence. Hansen tightens his oxygen mask and glances at the photograph tucked beside his instrument panel. His mother's face, taken 5,000 miles away in Massachusetts. He doesn't know that in less than 6 hours, he'll achieve something no other Allied pilot will match in World War II. The mission brief was straightforward. Protect the bombers. Don't let the Zeros through. Get home. But nothing about air combat over Rabaul is ever straightforward. The Japanese have turned the massive volcanic harbor into one of the most heavily defended positions in the Pacific. Hundreds of fighters operate from airfields carved into the jungle. Anti-aircraft batteries ring the shoreline. For the Americans, every mile closer to the target means 1 mile deeper into the hornet's nest. Hansen's 23 years old. Born in Lucknow, India, to Methodist missionaries, he spent his childhood in the Western Himalayas at Woodstock School. His teenage years were spent becoming the heavyweight wrestling champion. Now he's been in combat for 6 months. In that time, he's learned that the F4U Corsair is both a blessing and a curse. If you enjoyed this deep dive into extraordinary combat missions, hit that subscribe button. More untold stories from World War II are coming your way every week. The Corsair can fly faster than 400 miles per hour in level flight. The massive Pratt & Whitney R2800 double Wasp engine produces over 2,000 horsepower. The distinctive inverted gull wings give the aircraft its unmistakable silhouette and enough ground clearance for the 13-foot propeller. 350 caliber machine guns are mounted in each wing. That's roughly 30 seconds of continuous fire if you hold the trigger down. But nobody does that. You fire in bursts, 3 to 6 seconds. Make every round count. The cockpit is set back to make room for the fuel tank. It means terrible forward visibility during takeoff and landing. You have to turn the aircraft sideways just to see where you're going on the ground. But once you're in the air, none of that matters. Because the Corsair can do something the Japanese Zero cannot. Can dive. Can climb. It can outrun anything the enemy puts in the sky. The Zero is faster in a turn at low altitude. More maneuverable in slow-speed combat. But if you keep your speed up, if you use your altitude, if you exploit the Corsair's strengths, the Zero doesn't stand a chance. This is what the first Corsair aces figured out. Altitude is paramount. Whoever has altitude dictates the terms of the battle. Hansen knows this. He's studied it. He's lived it. But knowing and doing are two different things when 70 enemy fighters are trying to kill you. The engines roar to life across the flight line. Blue exhaust smoke drifts across the pierced steel planking. Hansen advances his throttle. The big radial coughs, catches, and settles into a steady thunder. The tower gives the signal. Time to go. When his turn comes, he lines up on the runway and pushes the throttle forward. The Corsair accelerates hard. Then he's airborne, climbing into the tropical morning. The jungle falling away below. 18 Navy TBF Avenger torpedo bombers fly in tight formation ahead. 8 Corsairs from VMF 215 form the escort. The plan is simple. Climb to altitude. Maintain formation. When the Japanese fighters come, engage them before they reach the bombers. The formation climbs northwest toward Rabaul. The formation reaches 20,000 feet. The air grows thin and cold. Hansen scans the sky constantly. Left. Right, above, below, behind. The enemy could come from anywhere. Then the horizon ahead darkens. Not with clouds. With aircraft. Dozens of them. Japanese Zeros rising to meet them. Hansen's pulse quickens. Major Owen's voice cuts through the radio. Here they come. Stay together. Protect the bombers. The formations close. 3 miles. 2 miles. 1 mile. The sky is about to explode. The Japanese fighters split into multiple groups. Some dive toward the bombers from above. Others climb to engage the Corsairs directly. Hansen sees a Zero flash past below him, heading for the Avengers. He rolls inverted and pulls hard, diving after it. The Corsair accelerates rapidly. Wind screams over the canopy. Hansen centers the Zero in his gun sight and pulls the trigger. All 6 machine guns erupt simultaneously. Tracer rounds arc through the air. The Zero breaks left, trying to evade. But Hansen anticipated the move. He adjusts his aim. The 50 caliber rounds walk across the Zero's fuselage. Pieces fly off. Smoke erupts from the engine. The Zero noses over and begins falling, trailing black smoke. Hansen doesn't watch it hit the water. He's already looking for the next threat. 2 more Zeros are diving on the bombers from 10 o'clock high. Hansen pulls up hard, climbing back into the fight. The G-forces press him into his seat. His vision narrows at the edges. The Corsair groans but holds together. Vought built these aircraft tough. Armor plate protecting the cockpit. Bullet-resistant glass. Self-sealing fuel tanks. The Corsair can take punishment that would destroy a Zero. Hansen levels out and spots one of the Zeros turning in on a bomber's tail. The bomber's rear gunner is firing, but the Zero pilot presses his attack. Hansen dives in from the side. The Zero pilot never sees him. Hansen opens fire at 400 yards. Closing. 300. 200. The Corsair's 6 guns pour lead into the Zero's wing root. The wing separates from the fuselage. The Zero spins wildly and disintegrates. Aircraft number 2. But now Hansen has a problem. He's deep in the furball. Japanese fighters everywhere. His division scattered. He's alone. 3 Zeros spot him and turn in his direction. Hansen shoves the throttle forward and dives. The Corsair's speed builds rapidly. 300 miles per hour. 350. 400. 420. The Zeros can't keep up in a dive. They fall behind. Hansen pulls out low over the water. The ocean surface rushes past 20 feet below. He looks back. The Zeros are still coming, but they're several thousand feet behind and above. Hansen begins a climbing turn to the left, using the Corsair's superior climb rate. The big radial engine bellows. Up and around. The Zeros try to cut him off, but they can't match his climb angle. Hansen comes around on the tail of the trailing Zero. The Japanese pilot realizes too late. Hansen fires. The Zero catches fire instantly. The pilot doesn't bail out. The aircraft rolls inverted and plunges toward the ocean. 3 down. The other 2 Zeros break in opposite directions. 1 climbs. 1 dives. Hansen chooses the one diving. Bad decision for the Japanese pilot. Diving away from a Corsair is suicide. Hansen follows him down, closing the distance effortlessly. The Zero pilot jinks left and right, trying to throw off Hansen's aim. But the Corsair is stable. Hansen compensates for each maneuver. At 300 yards, he fires a short burst. Mississippi. He adjusts. Fires again. This time the rounds connect. The Zero's tail section shreds. Control surfaces tear away. The aircraft tumbles end over end. For confirmed kills. And Hansen is just getting started. He pulls up and scans for threats. The air battle has spread across miles of sky. Corsairs and Zeros twist and turn in individual duels. The bombers are making their run. Anti-aircraft fire blooms around them in black puffs. Hansen spots another Zero climbing toward a damaged Avenger limping away from the target. The bomber is trailing smoke. Its rear gunner isn't firing. Probably hit. The Zero is closing for the kill. Hansen pushes the Corsair's nose down and accelerates. The Zero pilot is focused on the bomber. Tunnel vision. Fatal mistake. Hansen comes in from the Zero's 7 o'clock, slightly below. Perfect deflection shot. He leads the target and fires. The 50 caliber armor-piercing rounds punch through the Zero's lightly armored fuselage like paper. The aircraft breaks apart in mid-air. The pilot ejects, but his parachute doesn't open. 5 Zeros destroyed. 20 minutes of combat. Hansen checks his fuel and ammunition. He's burned through more than half his ammo. Fuel is dropping fast from all the hard maneuvering. He needs to be smart about this. But the fight isn't over. More Japanese fighters are launching from the airfields below. Reinforcements trying to stop the bombers from escaping. Hansen sees them climbing in formation. Fresh aircraft. Determined pilots. He could run. Head for home. 5 kills in one mission is extraordinary. Nobody would question it. But the bombers are still in danger. His wingmen are still fighting. And Hansen wasn't raised to walk away from a fight. He turns back toward the Japanese formation. The fresh Japanese fighters climb in a loose formation. 8 zeros, maybe 10. Hansen counts them quickly. Half ammunition remaining. Fuel getting low. Alone. No wingmen. Against 10 enemy fighters. The smart move is obvious. Break off. Head for home. Live to fight another day. But Hansen isn't thinking about survival. He's thinking about the bombers limping home behind him. About the men in those aircraft who trusted the Corsairs to protect them. He banks hard and dives toward the Japanese formation. The Zeros see him coming. They break in different directions, trying to surround him. Classic fighter tactics. Get the lone aircraft in a crossfire. Multiple angles of attack. No escape. But Hansen learned his tactics from the best. Never turn with them at low speed. Never try to outmaneuver them in a horizontal fight. Use your speed. Use your dive. Use your climb. Hit and run. Strike and escape. Choose your moment and make it count. Hansen selects his target. The trailing Zero in the formation. The pilot who thinks he's safe. Hansen rolls inverted and pulls through, diving almost vertically. The Corsair accelerates like a meteor. The airspeed indicator climbs past 420 miles per hour. Hansen's vision narrows to the gun sight and the target. The Zero grows larger in his windscreen. 300 yards. 250. The Zero pilot finally sees him and tries to brake left. Too late. Hansen fires. The burst is shorter this time, conserving ammunition. But it's enough. The Zero's engine explodes. Flames engulf the cockpit. The aircraft tumbles out of control. 6 confirmed kills. And now the real fight begins. The other Zeros turn in toward him. Multiple bogies converging. Hansen is deep in enemy territory. His squadron scattered. He's on his own. The first Zero comes head-on. A brave pilot. Or a desperate one. Head-on passes are deadly for both aircraft. 50 caliber rounds coming at you at combined closure rates exceeding 600 miles per hour. No room for error. No time to flinch. Hansen holds his course. The Zero holds his. Both pilots fire simultaneously. Tracers fill the air between them. Hansen feels impacts. Metal tearing somewhere on the airframe. But the Corsair keeps flying. The Zero does not. It breaks apart under the concentrated fire from 6 machine guns. Pieces scatter across the sky. The fuselage tumbles past Hansen's canopy close enough to see the rising sun painted on the side. 7 kills. And Hansen's aircraft is damaged. He doesn't know how badly. Warning lights haven't illuminated. The engine sounds normal. Flight controls respond. But something hit him. 2 Zeros are on his tail now. Tracers zip past his wings. Hansen shoves the throttle forward and dives again. Building speed. The Zeros follow, but they can't match his acceleration. The Corsair pulls away. 1,000 feet separation. 2,000. Hansen pulls up into a climbing left turn. Using the vertical. The Zeros try to follow, but the Corsair climbs faster. Hansen comes over the top, rolls inverted, and spots one of the Zeros below him, struggling for altitude. Perfect deflection shot. Hansen rolls upright, pulls the nose through, and fires. The Zero's tail section disintegrates. The aircraft enters a flat spin. No recovery possible. 8 confirmed kills in a single mission. And the Japanese pilots are getting desperate. 3 Zeros converge from different directions. Coordinated attack. Professional. Dangerous. Hansen can't outrun all 3. Can't outclimb them from this position. Can't fight them all simultaneously. So he does something unexpected. He flies straight at the nearest one. Aggressive. fearless. The Zero pilot expects him to turn, to run, to defend. Instead, Hansen attacks. The Zero breaks first. Instinct. Self-preservation. The formation breaks apart. Hansen selects the Zero that broke right, follows him through the turn. The Zero is faster in this maneuver, more maneuverable, but Hansen anticipates, leads the target, fires where the Zero will be, not where it is. The rounds connect with the Zero's wing root, the structural weak point. The wing folds. The Zero spins into the ocean below. 9 confirmed kills. 20 minutes of continuous combat. And Hansen is almost out of ammunition. He checks his fuel gauges. The needles hover near empty. Maybe 50 rounds per gun. 300 rounds total. Enough for one more engagement. Maybe 2 if he's disciplined. The remaining Japanese fighters have had enough. They're breaking off, heading back toward Rabaul. Hansen watches them go. He could chase them, try for a 10th kill. But that would be suicide. Low on fuel, low on ammunition, deep in enemy territory. Even Hansen isn't that reckless. He turns south, toward home, toward Torquemada. The adrenaline starts to fade. His hands shake slightly on the control stick. The reality of what just happened settles in. 9 enemy aircraft destroyed. In one mission. In one day. Nobody in the Marine Corps has ever done that. Nobody in the Navy. Maybe nobody in the entire war. But Hansen isn't thinking about records. He's thinking about the fuel gauge. The engine coughs. Once. Then smooths out. Hansen's heart skips. He scans the gauges frantically. Oil pressure normal. Engine temperature normal. Fuel pressure holding. But the fuel quantity is critical. He's burned through nearly everything. The distance to Torquemada is still over 50 miles. He runs the calculations in his head. Fuel consumption rate versus distance remaining. It's going to be close. Very close. He leans the fuel mixture. Pulls back the throttle to maximum endurance speed. Every gallon counts now. Every mile matters. Below him, the ocean stretches endlessly. Beautiful and deadly. If he goes down out here, rescue is unlikely. The sea is controlled by neither side. No ships nearby. No submarines on station. Just water and sharks and the slow death of exposure. He pushes the thought away. Focus on flying. Focus on getting home. The coastline of Bougainville appears on the horizon. Hansen's chest tightens with relief. Almost there. The engine coughs again. This time it doesn't smooth out immediately. The propeller windmills for a second. Then catches. Then runs normally. Fuel starvation. The tanks are nearly dry. Hansen scans ahead for the airfield. There. The runway. Pierced steel planking cutting through the jungle. He's too low for a normal pattern. No fuel for a go-around if he misses the approach. One chance. One landing. Get it right or die trying. He drops his landing gear. The hydraulic system groans. The gear locks down. Flaps extended. Airspeed decreasing. The Corsair descends toward the runway. Other aircraft on the ground. Maintenance crews. Pilots. Everyone watching. The engine coughs one final time and dies. Complete fuel exhaustion. The propeller stops turning. Sudden silence except for the wind over the canopy. Hansen is gliding now. No power. No options. Just physics and skill. He adjusts his glide path. Too high and he'll overshoot. Too low and he'll hit the trees before the runway. The approach has to be perfect. The jungle passes beneath him. Trees. Mud. Bomb craters. Then the runway threshold. Hansen pulls back gently on the stick. Flaring. The Corsair settles. The main gear touches down hard on the steel planking. The aircraft bounces. Settles again. Rolling. Slowing. Hansen applies the brakes carefully. The Corsair rolls to a stop halfway down the runway. Silence. Hansen sits in the cockpit for a moment. Hands still shaking. Heart pounding. He's alive. The mission is complete. 9 enemy aircraft destroyed. 0 friendly losses. He opens the canopy. Hot jungle air rushes in. The smell of aviation fuel and oil and wet earth. Ground crew running toward him. Pilots emerging from tents. Major Owens jogging across the tarmac. Hansen unbuckles his harness and climbs down from the cockpit. His legs nearly give out when he hits the ground. Adrenaline crash. Exhaustion. He steadies himself against the fuselage. Major Owens reaches him first. How many? Hansen holds up 9 fingers. Can't speak yet. Throat too dry. Owens' eyes widen. 9? You got 9 zeros. Hansen nods. The other pilots crowd around. Questions flying. What happened? How did you do it? Where were you? Hansen finds his voice. Separated from the formation. Engaged enemy fighters protecting the bombers. Multiple engagements. Used vertical tactics. Ran out of fuel on final approach. His report is clinical. Professional. But his hands are still shaking. The intelligence officer arrives with a notebook. Official debriefing. Hansen recounts the mission in detail. Time. Location. Aircraft type. Engagement sequence. Ammunition expenditure. Fuel consumption. The kills are verified through witness statements from other pilots and bomber crews. 9 Mitsubishi A6M-2 Type 0 fighters destroyed. Confirmed. Lieutenant Robert Hansen becomes an instant legend. The days that follow blur together. More missions. More combat. More kills. Hansen flies nearly every day. Sometimes twice. The Japanese keep coming. The Americans keep fighting. Rabaul is under siege. The once mighty fortress crumbling under relentless air attacks. Hansen's kill count climbs. 11 total. 15. 20. By late January 1944, he shot down 25 enemy aircraft in just 6 months of combat. 20 of those in 17 days. The pace is unsustainable. Everyone knows it. The pilots are exhausted. The aircraft are wearing out. The ground crews work around the clock, keeping the Corsairs airborne. But the mission continues. Because Rabaul must fall. Because the war must be won. Because there's no other choice. Hansen earns the nickname Butcher Bob. Not for cruelty. For efficiency. For the clinical, methodical way he destroys enemy aircraft. No wasted ammunition. No unnecessary risks. Just pure, calculated lethality. He becomes the top Corsair ace of the war. The second highest scoring Marine fighter pilot in history. On track to surpass even Pappy Boyington's record. But the war doesn't care about records. If these stories of aerial combat resonate with you, consider supporting the channel on Patreon. Your support helps us bring more of these forgotten stories to light. The 3rd of February, 1944. One day before Hansen's 24th birthday. 8 Corsairs from VMF 215 escort 18 TBF Avenger bombers to Tobara airfield near Rabaul. The mission goes smoothly. Bombs on target. Minimal resistance. 15 Japanese fighters appear, but the Corsairs intercept them. 3 Zeros destroyed. No American losses. The formation turns for home. Mission complete. Everyone thinking about hot food and sleep. But Cape St. George lies between them and Torquay, the southern tip of New Ireland. A known hotspot. Japanese anti-aircraft batteries. Radar station. Defensive positions. Most pilots fly around it. Give it a wide berth. Avoid unnecessary risk. Hansen descends. He's seen the lighthouse there before. Prime target. Fire control position for the anti-aircraft guns. Take it out and future missions get safer. The logic is sound. But the approach is fatal. Hansen lines up his strafing run. Low and fast. The lighthouse growing in his windscreen. His wingmen watch from above. They see him commit to the attack. See the Corsair diving toward the Cape. See the anti-aircraft fire erupting from concealed positions. Tracers rising in streams. Hansen presses the attack. His machine guns rip into the lighthouse. Concrete chips. Glass shatters. But the anti-aircraft guns find him. 23mm rounds punch through the Corsair's right wing. The fuel tank ruptures. Flames erupt. Hansen tries to pull up. The aircraft responds, but the fire spreads. The wing catches the water. Once. Twice. The Corsair cartwheels. The wing tears off. The fuel tank explodes. The fuselage twists and rolls, hits the water inverted, disappears beneath the surface in a cloud of spray and burning fuel. Lieutenant Creighton Chandler circles overhead, drops low, searches for survivors, finds only debris, pieces of wreckage floating in the waves. Oil slick, no parachute, no life raft, no pilot. Robert Murray Hansen is gone. One day before his 24th birthday, after 25 confirmed kills, after becoming the top Corsair ace of the war, after surviving being shot down once before and paddling 6 hours in a raft before rescue, after 9 kills in a single day, after everything, a lighthouse, anti-aircraft fire, bad luck. The war doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care about records or potential or brilliance. It just takes. His squadron mates return to Torquemada in stunned silence. The ground crew waits for the familiar bent-wing silhouette that never appears. The photograph beside the instrument panel. His mother's face. It goes home in a box with his personal effects. The Medal of Honor is awarded posthumously. Presented to his mother by Major General Lewis Merritt on Boston Common in August 1944. His father is in India at the time, still serving as president of Lucknow Christian College, still teaching, still believing in a better world. The citation reads for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty. But the words feel hollow. They always do, because Robert Hansen should have lived, should have gone home, should have seen his 24th birthday, should have become a father, a teacher, a missionary like his parents, should have done anything except die in the water off Cape St. George. His body was never recovered. No grave, no marker, just his name on the memorial wall at the Manila American Cemetery, and a sports field at Woodstock School in Mussoorie, India, Hansen Field, where he wrestled as a teenager, where Hindu children still play, where his legacy lives in a place far from the Pacific, far from the war, far from the ocean that took him. VMF 215, the Fighting Corsairs, continued flying. Shot down 137 enemy aircraft in 18 weeks. 10 aces from one squadron. 4th most successful Marine squadron in history. They went home in October 1944. Decommissioned in November. Reformed briefly. Then deactivated for good in 1945 after the war ended. The F4U Corsair continued serving. Korea, Central America. The last combat use was in 1969, 25 years after Hansen died. The aircraft outlived the pilot. The machine outlasted the man, which is how war works. The tools persist. The users don't. Today, the story of Robert Hansen exists in fragments. Official records, medal citations, squadron histories, a few photographs, memories fading as the veterans age and pass. But for one day, the 14th of January, 1944, Robert Hansen achieved something no other Allied pilot matched in World War II. 9 enemy aircraft destroyed in a single day. A feat of skill, courage, and luck so extraordinary it seems fictional. But it happened. Witnessed. Verified. Recorded. Not because Hansen was superhuman, but because he was properly trained, properly equipped, and properly positioned. Because the Corsair was that good. Because the tactics worked. Because on that day everything aligned. And also because Hansen refused to quit. Refused to run. Refused to let the bombers face the Japanese fighters alone. He stayed and fought when wisdom said retreat. Stayed and fought when ammunition ran low. Stayed and fought when fuel reached critical. Stayed until the job was done. That's not recklessness. That's devotion. Devotion to mission, to squadron, to the men depending on him. And it cost him his life 3 weeks later. The lighthouse still stands on Cape St. George. Weathered. Abandoned. Silent. The ocean washes the same rocks where Hansen's Corsair went down. The jungle has reclaimed the airfields. Torquemada. Rabaul. Cavying. All overgrown. Nature erasing the scars of war. The pierced steel planking rusting under vines. The bomb craters filled with rainwater and vegetation. As if the war never happened. as if those young men never flew and fought and died in tropical skies 8 decades ago. But it did happen. They did fight. And some of them, like Robert Hansen, achieved the extraordinary. Not for glory, not for records, but because their country asked and they answered. Because the mission mattered more than survival. Because that's what service means when the stakes are total war. 9 zeros in one day, a number that sounds like propaganda, like exaggeration, like something from a movie, but it's real, documented, true. And the man who did it didn't live to celebrate his 24th birthday. That's the cost. That's always the cost. Not just of victory, but of excellence, of pushing beyond limits, of refusing to accept defeat. The highest achievers often pay the highest price. Robert Hansen paid it in full, in the cold water off New Ireland, alone, far from home, far from the Himalayas where he learned to wrestle and run, far from Massachusetts where his mother waited, far from the life he might have lived. But in that brief, brilliant moment over Simpson Harbor, with 9 enemy aircraft falling from the sky, with bombers saved and missions completed, Robert Hansen was exactly where he needed to be, doing exactly what he was born to do. And that matters. That will always matter. Long after the last veteran is gone. Long after the Corsairs are museum pieces. Long after the war becomes ancient history. The act remains. The achievement stands. 9 zeros. One day. One pilot. One extraordinary moment when courage, skill, and circumstance combine to create something unforgettable. We remember. We must remember. Because men like Robert Hansen deserve nothing less. Thanks for watching this story of extraordinary courage and skill under fire. If you want to see what happened when German jet fighters tried to turn the tide of the air war, check out the video on your screen now.